here today. Okay. Well, greetings, everyone. Thank you for being here. This is the April 2nd, 2024 meeting of the Economic Development Committee for Mecklenburg County. And I'm honored to serve as chair of this committee. And it certainly is very powerful to have this many visitors at our meeting. And I'm really glad that you all came. So we also want to welcome the public who may be watching remotely, either now or later. We want to add people to our agenda distribution list. If anyone would like to join our list, you can send an email to Megan Witt. Her email address is megan.witt@mecnc.gov. And so the way we like to start this out is with introductions. And so I'm going to start with all of the commissioners, and then we will go with our staff and then our guests. So let me begin again by saying I'm Susan Rodriguez McDowell. I might have forgot to say that already. And I get to serve as chair of this committee. It is a huge honor. And I want to start with the committee members, and then we will introduce our other commissioners. So to my right.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the public and to our guests. My name is Mark Jarrell. I've been elected by the people of District 4, also serve as vice chair.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Laura Meyer, and I represent District 5.
Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Lee Altman, and I serve at large.
All right. Thank you very much. We have two guest commissioners, and I will start with our guests.
I'm so used to when we go around.
I know, I'm sorry.
So I am a guest commissioner quite often in this meeting. I'm Mecklenburg County Commissioner Elaine Powell. I represent Huntersville, Davidson, Cornelius, North Charlotte, the ETJ, part of Lake Norman, and all of Mountain Island Lake. Welcome.
All right, and down here.
Good afternoon and welcome. My name's Arthur Griffin, and I serve this community as a county commissioner at large. That is the entire county of Mecklenburg. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, thank you. I'm just specifying that, y'all, because normally our committees have 4 members because we don't want to have a quorum at a committee meeting, but this meeting has been noticed, and so it's totally legal for us to have other commissioners here. But that's just how our normal committee setup is. It's 4 commissioners normally. So first, what we need to do is take care of a little business that we have. I'd like to know if we have a motion to approve our meeting minutes from from March 19th.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion made by Commissioner Meyer, seconded by Commissioner Jarrell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous. So the meeting minutes from March 19th have been approved. Oh, and I totally just forgot that I said we were gonna introduce all of our staff and our guests, and I just went right into, okay, sorry, guys. So let's start with our Deputy County Manager.
Sure thing. Good afternoon, Deputy County Manager Leslie Johnson.
Economic Development Director Roger Johnson.
Deputy Director Shahid Rana.
Keisha Whitley, Economic Development.
Megan Witt, Economic Development.
Agustin Velasquez, Economic Development.
Clay Andrews, Economic Development.
Excellent. Now, we don't usually have this many guests, but I really would love it if we could just recognize everyone who's in the room. Would you mind just passing the mic down?
Doug Russell, WBTV.
Ricky Hall, West Boulevard Neighborhood Coalition.
Reverend Corinne Mack, President of the Charlotte Mecklenburg NAACP and Executive Director for UTU.
Bobby Drake with the Community Benefits Coalition, as well as First Vice President of the Black Political Caucus.
Christopher Dennis, eFix Development Corp, working on the Western Corridor.
Good afternoon, Reverend Janet Garner Mullins, representing the West Boulevard Neighborhood Coalition.
Good afternoon, Jeff Brown with Morven Allen, assisting the Asana Group. Thank you. Great to be here.
Good afternoon, Robert Dawkins, Political Director, Action NC.
Ricky Woods, Equitable Communities, Charlotte, and Senior Minister, First Baptist Church West.
All right, thank you all so much. What I'm going to do next is turn it over to Dr. Leslie Johnson, and I know that our presenters will be introducing themselves as part of their presentation.
Awesome. Again, thank you and good afternoon. Today's agenda includes two things, an open session item, which will be Brooklyn and Church, and then we'll transition to the closed session items to give you some updates there. As it relates to the Brooklyn and Church, as you are aware, it's not uncommon for us to be presented with public-private partnership opportunities, and this is a project that aligns to that interest. It also is not foreign for you or unaccustomed for you to understand that we want to ensure we made a commitment to make sure that we give you information multiple times, not that we give you one project and ask you to take action. So today is not it's received for information. It is not, and to be engaged with the project team, to ask any questions that you may have of them, share any interest that you may be interested in if you are still interested in doing this potential public-private partnership. And then from there, giving staff any additional directions that be made necessary. Again, this is received for information, no action necessary. And now I will pass it over to Roger Johnson, who will give a little bit more highlights as well introduce the team.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson and Madam Chair. First of all, I want to introduce the guests today. We have Reed Cracky, partner, if you raise your hand, Reed, Liz Bowen, Director of Sustainability, Jeff Brown, who's the counselor in the background who introduced himself earlier, and Welch Lyles is the managing director for Asana, and they're going to present to you here shortly. But I thought it was very important that I provide some context about this project, include a little bit of a timeline so that when you are asked to make any decisions in the future, you're well informed of how we came here today. It was in November of last year when I met Welch Lyles in just a general conversation where a request was made for the county to consider tax increment financing. Shortly thereafter, discussions about a public-private partnership began in earnest. Concurrently, the Center City Partners was hosting a design competition. They called it the Center City Vintage Office Design Competition, and I was one of many judges, which Brooklyn and Church, the project you're about to hear about, actually won the competition, along with a couple other that were noted as well. And unlike other buildings that were in that Center City Design competition, this particular building is unique in that it was owned by Duke Energy, so it has the prospect of having an increased significant tax increment value at the conclusion of its conversion from an office complex to a mixed-use development. And you'll hear more about that tax increment finance and what the results of that could be from our guest. Around this same time frame, we had brought to this particular committee some potential projects to consider. And during those conversations, this particular committee asked that our team, staff, convey to those that have an interest in P3s that we consider the board's priorities. And in particular, at that date, it was pointed out workforce development, environmental stewardship, and social mobility be at the top of those lists, as well as others that are listed on the board's priorities. So staff included those priorities in our discussions with the conversation with Asana Partners, and today you'll hear more about the results of that conversation and learn more how the board's priorities were integrated into the project. I had the pleasure of visiting Charlotte Shout downtown this weekend, and it was clearly visible to me that the Uptown area was a place for everyone, at least for this particular event. I will express to you also that our Center City Partners have shared a concern about the state of office vacancy rate in the Uptown area, and I believe you heard about that last meeting. And what you may not be aware of is that the county was invited to a Charlotte Executive Leadership Council. For those of you who are listening who may not be aware, that's primarily the CEOs of our largest employer, thought leaders in the community, as well as public leaders such as chancellors, Dina and Marcus from the city and county respectively, and others are there. They expressed a strong desire for us to maintain our uptown area and improve it if we could in terms of both safety and vibrancy. So I wanted to make sure that you had that particular context about those who may be listening and watching to what happens today. Additional context for your consideration is the city of Charlotte is also considering this project. The county is ahead of them in the evaluation process. Nonetheless, at this particular juncture, the staff, not their board, but the staff has reacted favorably to this particular project. And in fact, we plan to work directly with city staff in evaluating the tax increment values that will be discussed later today. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Welch Lyles to present to you their vision for Brooklyn and Church. Welch, it's yours.
Great. Thank you very much, Roger. Thank you guys again for the opportunity to come and present today. As mentioned, I'm Welsh Files with Asana Partners. For those of you who don't know, Asana is based here in Charlotte. So Reed, Liz, and I live in Mecklenburg County. So we are not only the developers of this, but we're also the benefactors and constituents of this project. And we're really excited to be able to speak to it today and to have the opportunity to be a part of it. So I was actually born and raised in Concord, which I know is Cabarrus County, don't hold it against me. But because of that, right, I have seen the growth of Charlotte and Mecklenburg County. You've seen the development, both good and bad. And I think it has really helped us as we have kind of put together this plan and coming up with something that we think is a benefit to the whole community. And I think that speaks to the fact that, we really take this conversion personally, right? We live here. I have fond memories of coming to Panthers games or going to the museum when I was younger and walking past this building, right? Or my uncle worked here for 25 years on the 4th floor. And then, most importantly, I have 2 little girls that are 4th generation Charlotte area natives, and the changes and decisions we make today for Uptown Charlotte, I think, are going to impact them and the rest of our community for a long time to come. And with the concerns of the office vacancy and obsolete product today, we're at that critical decision point of how we handle it and how we make sure that our central business district and the county seat is seen in the future. So with that, we have a presentation we'd love to get into. First, I'd like to thank Roger and Shah and the rest of the Economic Development Office. As he mentioned, we've been working together for the past, almost 6 months now, and a lot of detail on all of this. And I feel like we have come up with a great plan thanks to their, guidance and feedback that aligns well with the board's priorities and also helps to provide a lot of economic benefit for the county and the city to help as we, work through the difficult office environment. And so with that, we'd love to jump in. Down. Thank you. You said that, I forgot. So real fast, I mentioned it, but just who is Asana Partners, right? So we're based here in Charlotte. We're founded in 2015, and we're a private equity real estate group focused on neighborhood-driven retail and placemaking throughout the country. So here in Charlotte, you might be familiar with, some of our assets, which include the Design Center in South End. We also own the ground floor of the Ally Center on Brooklyn Village Avenue, as well as the Whole Foods there, Cotswold Village over in Cotswold, and several investments in Plaza Midwood, Noda, and similar neighborhoods, and have invested in similar placemaking opportunities kind of throughout the country. We are an SEC registered investment advisor, and most of our investments are through a fund structure in which we partner with institutional investors, including university endowments, state and government pension funds, and other similar organizations to invest their funds. We also have a heavy focus on our corporate responsibility program, which Liz helps to oversee on a day-to-day basis to ensure that we are focused on the environmental impact of all of our investments, the social impact, and also the governmental impact for everything, both for all the communities that we invest and do work in. So jumping into Brooklyn and Church, I know you all have seen some high-level presentations and conversations around this from the Center City Partners presentation a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know, I think some of you were in attendance for the visioning session, but Brooklyn and Church is a conversion of the obsolete office building at 526 South Church, which was formerly the Duke Energy headquarters. Our vision for the site is to convert it to 448 residential units with approximately 55,000 square feet of ground floor retail and over 20,000 square feet of new public open space that will be activated kind of hopefully 18 hours a day for use for shoppers and anyone visiting uptown. A couple of highlights. The plan would be to demolish roughly 215,000 square feet of the existing structure, reskin the entire facade, and convert what is the obsolete office into the new development today. And with that, which we'll get into in more detail a little bit, the incremental tax increase goes up almost 4.5 times what the value of that property is today, allowing a lot of economic benefits in addition to the physical improvements and other plans. So here's kind of a project overview, just to give you all a sense of what we're proposing for the renovation and what that would entail. So the top picture, picture 1, shows the existing building as it sits today, which I would equate as less than welcoming. And I think you could walk around the street and there's maybe 5 doors along the whole side, and it actually takes up the better part of the entire city block with no through block connectivity and a pretty antiquated design and development. In block 2, you can see that we would propose to demolish the lower portion, maintain just the existing tower, which equates to about 550,000 square feet of the existing building, and then go back with new apartments and retail in that existing tower, and then a new, what we're referring to as a marquee retail building on the corner that we feel offers kind of a really first of its kind design for Charlotte, and for what is really the first of its kind conversion opportunity in Charlotte. And then moving forward here, this is a site plan of the proposed design. And I think this is important because what we really want to illustrate is the new pedestrian connectivity and activation that this creates. The existing building has approximately 440 subterranean parking spaces. And because of that, it will allow us to really make this building almost 360 degrees. So you can have public terrace and balcony space on all sides of the project. This area in the middle will be a pedestrian alley that we will dedicate as public open space, as is this section, which will provide new through block connectivity. And then we're also carving passages through the building that will connect directly to Brooklyn Village, to Romare Bearden Park on the north side, all the way to Brooklyn Village on the south side. And then a passage through the building along Brooklyn Village Avenue to help address what is a dangerous pinch point on that street today due to the shear wall structure of the existing building. And so just great improved public experience and overall public realm on all sides of the property. And then finally, a public surface parking lot on the corner. That lot is existing today, but is gated off and not accessible outside of formerly Duke employees. So here's just a couple more renderings and of the proposed design for your reference. So this is looking down First Street today. So the corner of Church and First, which is now a back door. And then a view of the proposed pedestrian alley and terrace areas. So moving into our proposed partnership. So, I know that you have received the presentation a couple weeks ago and understand the office vacancy is at an all-time high. And we feel like this is a first of its kind opportunity to partner with both Mecklenburg County and the city of Charlotte to help address that concern and vacancy moving forward. And we feel, as I mentioned, that we've put together a plan that hopefully aligns and provides a lot of both social and economic benefits to the county and city as a whole. So far, we've already been heavily involved in community engagement with the property. We've partnered with 47 local nonprofits to come tour the building and have offered to, we actually received the building fully furnished from Duke Energy. And so we're donating that furniture to the community. So 47 nonprofits to date. We've had 22 tour the site and have been coordinating with them to take truckloads of lightly used office furniture for their benefit. We're also partnering with CMPD and Charlotte Fire for training opportunities, which is a great benefit to them because rarely do they get to take advantage of a fully vacant building of this size. So training experience they don't often get. And then moving forward, we worked with Roger and Shaw to really focus on 3 of the county's initiatives and priorities for 2024. So the first being workforce development and a focus on local job training and hiring. We're proposing a program that allows us to, would be a mix of program funding for local job training organizations, along with partnerships with those organizations to hire individuals from those groups, and then job fairs with those groups as well, to just provide additional opportunity for hiring within those organizations. And then a commitment to a minimum of 30 jobs for local employees throughout the construction process. And then outside of that, Asana Partners and our partner MRP Realty are proposing internship opportunities, both either summer or honestly year-long internship opportunities to work with us to learn more about the development world and the private equity world in hopes of providing future opportunities for those interns. And we currently partner with organizations like Project Destined, but would propose further partnerships with Project Destined or LISC to help support additional internships and similar opportunities. And then lastly would be a MWSBE commitment, a minimum of 21% of MWB organizations during construction for subcontractors, and then 15% of all facility management contracts moving forward upon substantial completion of the project. Jumping into the environmental stewardship, we have focused to make this a sustainably built project, and we feel is very environmentally friendly from its design. Just one, by the sheer fact that it is an adaptive reuse and conversion. We've done embodied carbon studies that compare this project to new construction today. So if we were to build a similar size project in a similar manner of all concrete construction, it would be almost 54,000 tons of additional embodied carbon that we're saving from new construction. And then additionally, we're diverting almost 550,000 tons of waste from local landfills. And that doesn't even account for the traffic and congestion and carbon that you get from all the trucking associated with that piece. And then we're also targeting sustainability certifications and a sustainable design for the building. We'll be working with industry standard practices and focused on a LEED Gold certification, which allows for ensuring that we're using the recycled content, local providers, and a whole point system that ensures that this is up to all the environmental standards, and Liz can help provide more detail on that. Along with Energy Star, which ensures that our operation requirements are the most energy efficient for a building of this type. And then lastly, we've been working with local partnerships. Duke Energy, for one, we've been partnering with them on a demand response automation program. It's actually a pilot program in which we work on energy conservation and peak use reduction to help them on their efficiencies. And then also similar programs like thermostats, smart thermostats that would reduce energy throughout and also save residents money on a monthly basis. Then we have the tangible assets that we're touching on. The first are the public realm and infrastructure improvements. I highlighted several of these on the space plan earlier, but it would be, the public open space that we touched on, that pedestrian plaza, the passages to the park and down First Street, the public parking, which would include electric vehicle parking, then all new sidewalks and connectivity around the building. So improving that public realm for what is, as you all know today, a very poor sidewalk condition. And then lastly would be a commitment to public art in which we would partner with local artists to provide a minimum of $50,000 for art in and around the project and the community. We'd also be working on improving the security and maintenance. So the site would be designed to CPTED standards. So providing enhanced security for this area of Uptown. And then we will handle the maintenance of the block, including the areas of the public realm throughout the ownership. And then lastly, we would look to provide a community space in partnership with the county and economic development office for public meetings to be held on a predetermined and scheduled basis to allow that the site is always open to the community and different organizations. So that kind of touches on, a high level overview of some of the intangible benefits of it. And then, jumping into the economic benefits. So as we've discussed, we are currently requesting a 45% property tax incremental grant over a 15-year period, up to a maximum amount equivalent to the public realm improvements. That today is estimated about $18.9 million. The tax incremental grant over that 15-year period would actually be much less than that. And we're working with Roger and the city on finalizing that actual cost, but just to give some background on that. And so, why is that an economic benefit? Well, even at that reduced rate, the incremental tax increase and new tax revenue to the county is significant. So today, the Brooklyn and Church site has been assessed at $38.4 million. We're in 2023, which equates to about $295,000 annually in annual taxes. This is the first year that it's been assessed at that. Previously, it was because of a public infrastructure. It fell into a state trust and portions were allocated to the county. So already a significant jump from that previous tax that Duke was paying, and now kind of set at $295,000 annually today. With a successful partnership and completion of this project, we conservatively believe that the tax revenue value would jump to $176.8 million, which equates to an additional taxes of approximately $1.7 million annually, which is a 460% increase to your total revenue. And so that equates to a total incremental tax revenue of $15 million over that 15-year requested period versus only $4.4 million if we were not successful in converting the building. And so, $15 million total increase, which equates to, a $10 million delta in that period, 7 million of which would go to the county. And, a sizable increase. So $7 million that can go back towards some of the board priorities and to help with benefit with educational attainment, early childhood development, environmental leadership, and actually equates to 5.5% of the proposed budget, 2024 budget for those items. So, we would love to open this up to question, but, just in short, without a partnership with Mecklenburg County and the city, we don't believe that this project would be able to move forward today in this form. And we feel like it's a great opportunity to show how obsolete office can be made a productive part and to really activate this part of Uptown. So really appreciate the time and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to introduce the rest of your team real quick before we?
Yeah, happy to. Reed Cracky, partner with Asana Partners here in Charlotte. And happy to be here and appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today.
Okay.
And Liz Bowen, Director of Sustainability with Asana Partners.
Okay, thank you. We've had a few more folks join us in the room. And I don't know if we, gosh, there's quite a few. Would you like to introduce yourselves so that we can all be knowing who's here?
Hello, I'm Jocelyn Nolly. I'm Chair of the Black Political Caucus of Charlotte-Mecklenburg.
Hello, I'm Gemini Boyd. I'm CEO and co-founder of a nonprofit organization called Project Bolt.
Good afternoon, Ron Ross with Northwood Estates Community Organization in the Historic West End Green District.
And I think we had one.
On
or
this
two
way,
more.
and then after this one.
Okay, great.
Pastor Cornelius Atkinson, President of Northwest Quarter Council of Elders.
All right, and so would you like to go online then?
Yep, we do have a few guests online with the Public Information Department with Mecklenburg County. We have Brett Clampett. With Manager's Office, we have Timothy Tibbs. With the Mint Hill Chamber of Commerce, Paige McKinney. City of Charlotte Economic Development, Matt Dufour. We do have a few other guests with OED, Ellie Fester and Janelle Rosales. We also have Janae Valentine, John Huang, I don't want to mispronounce that, and then Chris Bratz. We do have a few other dialed in guests, and I don't know their names for sure, but
Okay.
hopefully they can drop them in the chat.
That'd be great. Yeah, if you can just drop your names in the chat, that would be fantastic. We like to have a record of who's present for the meeting today. So with that, I think we will go and begin with our committee to see who has questions, comments, feedback for the team. Would you like to go first, Commissioner Jarrell?
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the presentation. Madam Chair, will we have multiple rounds if possible?
It depends. So we don't exactly have a time limit set for
All right,
this.
all right.
So if you just do your top line
All
and
right.
then we'll.
Yeah, let me try to blow through these relatively quickly. Again, appreciate the presentation. Couple of things. Number one, when staff presented us the idea of targeted placemaking, that's something I certainly support and I think about. Candidly, I think about it more in the context of the broader community, realizing that it has to take place all over. So I want to start with that. I don't know a lot about your organization, so I'm going to have to get a little bit of background. You talked about Welch. You're focused on this idea of neighborhood placemaking. How many communities, how many projects have you done in communities of color or underserved communities? Number one, I'm curious to understand that. The second question that I would have, out of the 448 residential units, what are we talking about with respect to affordable housing? What is the breakout of AMI? The third question I would have would really be around when you think about who our core constituency is as a county, and you have to take the city lens off of this conversation. When you think about our core constituency, how is this project transformational for those people that are considered our core constituency? So let me let you take those, and then if we have time, I'll come back.
Sure, happy to address those. And Reed, feel free to jump in. So as far as the communities of color and underserved communities, I actually don't have that stat available. I say, so we are invested in 26 cities across the United States, all urban or near urban kind of infill neighborhoods. That equates to 60 individual neighborhoods across the United States. And we frankly don't look at that demographic of if it's underserved or not. You know, we focus on walkability, educational attainment, things of that nature. But I'd be happy to kind of, you know, provide a full list of those, and I can look into that in more detail.
Yeah, we would have to have that. I mean, that's our core constituency, so we would need that information for sure.
Yeah, I think one thing that's important to note when you look across our holdings in Charlotte, you know, because we are retail focused, you know, the majority of our tenants are obviously local businesses that, you know, are people that are residents of the community. And we look at a lot the diversity of the businesses within our portfolios. So we have, I think in Charlotte, close to 50% of the stores that we have in our, you know, projects are either women-owned businesses or minority-owned businesses. And that's not necessarily intentional. It's more of a product of we're doing projects in communities that are diverse in nature. And, you know, there's, you know, what we believe creates an incredible kind of community as a place where, you know, all kind of folks from the community can bring kind of their kind of special kind of, you know, tools together to create a place that's, you know, organic and authentic, right? And so I think, you know, that's just an important thing to know. You look at the neighborhoods that we're invested in here in Charlotte, like Noda, Plaza Midwood, you know, the South End in Charlotte, Uptown. These are incredibly diverse places by nature. So our what we call kind of our merchandising mix, or, you know, the tenant base that kind of provides all the necessities to the community to kind of shop in and enjoy a meal in and things like that. It's important to have a cross-section of businesses that, you know, really reflect the communities that we're in. So I think that's, you know, just one other important kind of thing to note in terms of, you know, our product kind of speaking to kind of the broad constituency of the county in terms of its residency.
The affordable housing.
Yeah, and so speaking to the affordable housing piece, today we have not assumed any affordable housing as part of the project. I mean, as we discussed earlier, and it's no surprise, right, that with the concerns in Uptown and the vacancy with, you know, inflation costs over the past 2 years and how the markets have changed, there is a gap in this project being economically viable, and changing those rent profiles just furthers that economic gap. I think, you know, we'll be open to that discussion, and, you know, don't like that is, you know, the answer, but that is the reality of kind of the situation that it is today. But happy to explore it further.
So 2 last comments, Madam Chair, and I'll pass the mic. One, I would just respond by saying, one, this board is very intentional around who we are focused on. Like we are intentional around that. And so that is super important. And I think it's important for us to make sure that the public understands that. And then the second part to that, when we talk about the retail space, and, you know, I appreciate the mix that you have with respect to diversity. One of the things that I find from constituents, particularly I have a lens on small business, it's really not affordable for small businesses to be able to get retail space there. And I think that's something is another concern of mine when you talk about in and around uptown and the price per square foot. So, those are just some of the things that I want to flush out and get some more information on. So thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Jarrell. Commissioner Altman?
Thank you for coming and presenting this information to us. Did we have this presentation 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago? Like the related presentation?
There was a macro level overview probably about 4 weeks ago.
4 weeks ago. So, what I said then is really how I still feel. My first threshold question is like, does this even qualify? Does this even get in the front door? Like, why this property? Why this project? And what we were presented a month ago was a map of Uptown that showed, 30 distressed properties that, are in jeopardy of failing. And I said a month ago, I quoted from the Charlotte Ledger, and I was trying to see what economist it was who said this, and I can't find it, but I would like to attribute it to whoever actually said it. Quote, "It's a handful of office buildings. It's not something that's systemic that will cause the banking system or the broader economy to falter. For the people who own those particular buildings, it's going to be tough." So my conclusion, and what I said a month ago is, without more, I am not convinced that this, rises to the level of requiring investment from the public because, according to this economist, it's not pleasant for some private owners, but it's not like something that requires like a bailout from the public, right? And if you don't mind me finishing, please. And furthermore, there were something like 30 properties on that map. I don't have a principled way to say yes to this one as a threshold matter, but what about the other 29 if they come forward? And so that's my first problem is like, does this even get in the front door for me? And as you've heard, I have some real concerns that it even does. But if it did, I appreciate that you are aware of our priorities, but I don't see a concreteness, a tangibleness that's remotely, bringing me over, even coming close to the finish line. I would have been more interested had there been some very significant affordable housing, because then I know who would be benefiting. And if it was targeted to the AMI levels, where we have the greatest need, then I would be clear that that's going to really help with our housing crisis. But I just feel like the details around the actual benefit to the public is light. And, like if I were to ask our team to value create a dollar value for the public benefits you're proposing, like we're going to have to do with BMOC, for example, like I don't see these dollars adding up at all. So I am probably not there. Thank you.
I think that's really helpful context. We appreciate that view. I think, just taking a step back for kind of the context to the first part of your question in terms of why this opportunity. I think, just to take a step back. So this was Duke's headquarters since 1970 when they constructed it for themselves, right? And, so this city block, has really been untouched since 1970. Uniquely, the way that it was constructed, it is set up really for conversion to multifamily from a physical perspective, which is about a list of 50 to 60 different things physically about the building that need to work when it, if it's slab dimensions, if it's the location of the core in the building, if it's, a post-tension slab versus a poured-in-place slab so that you have the ability to core through the building to convert it from office to residential. So there's a lot of physical things about this building that make it unique as it relates to a potential conversion opportunity. I think that's number one. Number two, it's an option that is fully vacant today, right? So Duke has moved out of the building into their new 1 million square foot headquarters. I think that is a testament to kind of this phenomenon of what's going on with obsolete office buildings that were built kind of prior to, 1980. A lot of those buildings are coming to the end of their useful life. What did Duke Energy decide to do? They decided, rather than renovate in place, rather than, work with the building that they had been in since 1970, they built a new 1 million square foot tower, a block and a half away. And that is really kind of a testament to the kind of flight to quality and the flight out of these obsolete buildings. And so I think what we're faced with as private developers, as community members, is what do we do with these products, that are vacated by their prior owners? And I think if they're sit there as they are, they become a significant kind of risk to not only decrease tax revenue for the city, but also blight can occur around these these vacant buildings. I mean, we've took possession back from the building from Duke Energy in January of this year. So, about 4 months ago, we've had several break-ins into the building already. We have had a lot of vandalism, in the building. And I think that goes to show when these buildings go, vacant and they become obsolete, it really takes, concerted effort to reinvent them. And, when we look at the landscape of Uptown, this is about how do we continue the vibrancy and the growth of Uptown that Charlotte's benefited from so much over the last 10 years? And how do we keep driving, the revenue base for the city and county to be able to fund, these incredible, initiatives and, priorities of the city and county to help, with the greater good in the area. And so this opportunity specifically, because there's such a large potential tax increment that can be created, we believe, given its location, given the opportunity to create a real gathering place for the community at this critical location in our market versus the alternative of a 800,000 square foot vacant office building that sits on a full city block in our Uptown market, there's a lot of benefits that can come from that in terms of, driving revenue for the city and the county, but also creating a vibrant place for people to gather in our community. And I think that's to us is very important for the city of Charlotte and for the entire constituency of who lives and works here, because there's an indirect benefit in the fact that, rather than, $160,000, of revenue coming into the city or the county each year from the tax revenues for this, we can create, multitudes of that, which, provides budget for, these really important priorities that are on kind of the city and county's agendas.
I appreciate that, but you said you bought it 4 months ago, right?
No, we didn't buy it 4 months ago. We bought it in December of 2022.
Oh.
And then Duke was still in the building until 4 months ago.
Okay.
So they, under the agreement to purchase the building when we closed in December of 2022, they had rights to stay in the building and for 12 months through the end of last year. So we just took possession
I
of the
see.
building.
I guess what I'm also struggling with is, you're not a not-for-profit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
you're in the business of making money.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how you're different than any other for-profit business, which is trying to maximize profit.
Yeah.
And, if you thought this was in your best interest for your company, like, why shouldn't every other for-profit business who's dealing in a, difficult market, like, come to government to help them? Like, I just don't see why this just is distinguishable at
Yeah,
all.
no, it's an incredibly valid point, right? I think that we're not here to make our problems, the city or the county's problems. First and foremost, we are going to work tirelessly, regardless of the answer, in this conversation. We're going to work tirelessly to get this project out of the ground. We've been in the market for debt and equity on this project for the last 6 months. I think in the current economic conditions, the returns of the project do not meet the interest levels of debt and equity to invest in this project and bring it out of the ground, right? So, as of today, I think it's really real that it doesn't happen. Can I say that economic conditions aren't going to improve in the next year or two to be able to afford us the opportunity to do this project without any assistance? I can't say that. That may be very well a possibility, and that's what we're going to keep working towards, regardless of what the answer is in this discussion. So this is not your problem. This is not, but I think it's also a partnership that could create great opportunity, right? And I go back to the opportunity that could be created from this project that would be, directly benefit, the city and the county. And, I think that is where kind of the suggested ask comes from is if we do this together in an economy and an environment that doesn't allow for it to take place on its own, we can kind of accelerate the continued growth of the city and growth of the economic base, for the city and county. So that would be my answer to that.
All right, Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation and thank you for being here. Couple of questions. You said you engaged with 47 local nonprofit organizations, specifically about office furniture in the existing building. Did you engage with any nonprofit organizations about the design or what's needed in the community, particularly any that are here today? We have several present that are being represented today.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so from a design perspective, no, we have been focused, we have been engaged with the economic development team for the county. We've been engaged with the city of Charlotte's economic development team. We have been working with all the neighborhoods of for the new district visioning plan for this part of Uptown and kind of for connecting it, for improving the roadways in the area and connecting to the greenways. So we've been engaged in those regards. As far as the partnership with community organizations, we have been speaking some with Do Greater Charlotte, who also has some plans for Uptown. And so that's kind of been the extent. And then Liz's work with the nonprofits for the furniture donation.
Maybe you could just name, Liz, some of the nonprofits that you've been, focused on.
Would you like to hear some?
Sure.
All right. Good thing I came prepared. I'm new to town, so some of these are new to me. We've got Alexander Youth Network, Roof Above, Do Greater Charlotte. In addition to that, Charlotte Family Housing, and I can go on from there. Food Bank let us know that they hope to actually outfit 6 of their branch offices with this furniture. Red Cross, Holy Angels, Books on the House, Monarch Mental Health, etc. There's quite a few.
And we haven't yet, and I don't know if they would be eligible, but if Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools has any opportunity or benefit, we would love to connect with someone there for the same opportunity.
And as we said, we reached out to 47 groups, that we have relationships with. If there's anybody in this room that would like to come to the
There may
building
still be furniture
and
available.
look for opportunities, we're
So-
welcome you to reach out to us afterwards.
That's wonderful, but so when I'm thinking about the needs of the community, I'm pretty sure what a lot of our organizations that are here would say one thing, and that's affordable housing.
Mhm.
And so to echo Commissioner Jarrell, for this board to approve this and who we serve, that has to be solved, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't have that. I don't know how, but I do think it's going to have to be solved too before we could even consider it. And your MWBSE and Leaves, Energy Star and all, everything you're doing, all those programs are great. And I'm wondering, will you hire somebody to oversee that or who's going to oversee that to make sure that you are actually doing what you say you're going to do, percentage of jobs, et cetera, will go to MWBSE?
Yes, so we will manage all of that. We'll have experts that manage that process, and then backup and support would be a part of our application on an annual basis with all the taxes and go through a standard process for those reimbursements in which we provide support for all of that.
Okay, that's all for now.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Griffin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've just been sort of sitting in and listening to the presentation. You guys have asked a lot of questions. I'm struggling with Brooklyn Village, something we already own. Sure. In terms of all of those promises that you guys have just made about the MWBE, about affordable housing, about economic opportunities. And you said you're from Cabarrus. I'm from right here. In fact, you can probably look out the window and see where I grew up. I've been waiting on these promises for a little while, and I'm sure you have observed from Cabarrus County. We've made a lot of progress in Mecklenburg County and Charlotte, but we have substantial progress to go, particularly if we're trying to balance off both social justice issues, but one of our biggest issues is economic justice in terms of not just having these low-wage jobs or one or two economic opportunities. But Madam Chair, the questions would clearly be around housing, because so many of the low-wage folks coming into the center city, not only in terms of professionals, but the folk who serve the professionals in terms of where they would live and their opportunities. The piece about MWBE, we always talk about that kind of broadly, but I always like to disaggregate that. I think we struggle as government to get higher than 3 to 4% African-American participation. Yep. Although we talk broadly about 21%, most of those are white women in most of those engagements. So I as a guest, Madam Chair, I'd certainly be wanting to hear more detailed information. But you guys have already asked some phenomenal questions about what we're trying to do as a community, which is upward mobility and reduce racial disparities. And what I see in terms of Center City is that you're exacerbating the disparities as opposed to closing those disparities, which is one of our core goals. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
All right, Commissioner Powell.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. And at the beginning, Dr. Johnson said, you know, we're just receiving this as information. So on the flip side, I would just like for you to receive this as information from me. And I think you can feel that we are united. Like the 6 people that are here are united in our priorities. Reducing racial disparities is above that. It is threaded through all of our priorities. And so when I really want you to receive this, because when I was first elected, we went to a community building initiative seminar, and I was at the table with Levine Museum of the New South. And it changed that experience, that community building initiative breakfast and the exercises that we did together changed the course of my life. And I feel it in here in this room right now. And so while somebody, you know, partners come to us who have $7 billion worth of assets, you have disproportionate sway. You have masters at strategy of how to get the tools you need to finance your projects. How, you know, are we expected to invest taxpayer dollars in these areas when other areas that need this investment can't even compete and grow because you're getting the taxpayer dollars? And so I just and I want you to receive that and think about it, because that mindfulness is where I am. And, you know, I was glad Commissioner Jarrell said, take the city out of this. Our focus is, you know, economic development matters, but balance matters, and giving opportunities to everyone matters. And, you know, we're in meetings all day, every day with people that want some kind of incentive or funding and so we have to be, like Commissioner Jarrell said, intentional about where are we spending our taxpayer dollars. And this is the part where I think Commissioner Griffin just spoke to. We don't want to be part of perpetuating, making it continue, like the inequities continue. So, you know, here's this partnership where you have $7 billion worth of assets. You know, are we going to invest our taxpayer dollars to help you get more wealthy? Or are we going to invest our tax dollars in areas where it's necessary to reduce disparities? And so
And the other thing is for environmental stewardship, whenever it comes before me, I want it to be real. I think it's disingenuous to say, well, we're not going to take it to the landfill. I can't imagine you're going to knock the building down anyway, but I don't see that as environmental stewardship. So I'd like to see like more genuine, authentic environmental stewardship. And that concludes my comments for now, but as you can tell, I'm not on board with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. Commissioner Griffin has 10 seconds.
Yeah, just a 10-second follow-up. Since you're from Cabarrus County and you grew up in this area and your whole family, have you ever considered what's called the Crescent of the West Side to do some of your development? East Side. But you about Cotswold, South End, Nodoc, et cetera. But I was just wondering, since you have been around, I don't know about these other two. You've been around for a while. Have you ever considered the Crescent?
Yes, sir. So we know the area well. I do live in Mecklenburg County now, for what it's worth. So we're familiar with the area. I think we have different investment strategies. For a long time, South End was the only opportunity that we actually did have in Charlotte. We have recently become more active again in the local community for investments. Particularly, we don't typically do development or new development. It's mostly repositionings. And I would be happy to look at those neighborhoods specifically. So it is not, it's not that we have not focused on those. It just was, we have not made investments there yet today.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. So I just have a few, things to sort of add as maybe a wrap up. But I first want to say I'm incredibly proud of this group of commissioners that we have, this committee and all of us here, because we really are united in our priorities. And I really appreciate the thoughtfulness and the questions and the comments from my colleagues are like, I feel like we could all speak with one voice. The thing, when we sit in these chairs, it's a weighty sort of responsibility. And we don't take it lightly. And I think the idea of creating, I mean, we're not lost. It's not lost on us, the increased tax revenues that we could, $10 million in tax revenues over the course of, I can't remember how many years. We like tax revenue so that we can do things for the community. So we understand, we want to help keep our city vibrant and alive. We don't want to see blight. That speaks to us, right? But I really want you to hear what speaks to us more is the actual people who cannot afford to live here. And if we continue the way that we're going, we will not have our very own county employees, our teachers, our nurses, the folks who actually are bus drivers, like those folks can't live here. And I just can't even fathom, and I'm not trying to be unkind, but a group comes in that has $7 billion in assets and wants to take taxpayers, to help create more wealth is just not something it's in our DNA. And so it's just, I just don't see this. It's not penciling out for me, the benefits you know, the $10 million over so many years is, you know, sort of a projection. Even if we could claw it back, if it didn't reach, you know, the things that you guys are saying, I couldn't look myself in the mirror. I just couldn't.
No, I appreciate that, and it's not lost on us either. You know, I spent a lot of time with the Roof Above organization here in Charlotte, so you know, definitely understand the exact situation that you're talking about, and have, you know, seen it firsthand, and you know, understand it's a real issue. So I'm not gonna try to, you know, debate it or even, you know, try to respond to it, because I totally agree with you. So I appreciate that. The one thing that I do want to point out is, you know, we said $7 billion in assets under management on the slide. I just want everybody to understand whose capital that is that we're investing, right? It is not our money. It is, you know, South Carolina's teachers, you know, retirement fund. It is Ohio Police and Fire's teachers retirement fund. It is the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. So I just want you to understand that the money that we're investing on behalf of our investor partnerships, you know, our constituents very much like they're funding, you know, the retirements of teachers, firefighters, policemen, right? So this is not maybe as disconnected as maybe it is being
I hear
made to
you.
sound
Yeah.
in terms of where this capital comes from. So I just want that to be clear, because I think it is a little bit being made to sound like we're the, you know, very kind of obtuse, you know, wealthy developers coming in here. Our constituents are, you know, we are, you know, creating value for, you know, working class people, you know, through these funds. And so I just want that to be clear.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I really can't say enough of how worried we are
Mhm.
about our working class not being able
Yeah.
to live here.
Yeah, no, I think it's a huge
And, you know,
concern.
if their 401k goes up a little bit, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, but if they don't have a place to live, you know, it's just not that helpful.
Totally.
So I also want to just say part of, I think Commissioner Griffin used the word exacerbating disparities, you know, to think of this as another sort of fancy shopping, living, multi-use. I just don't, how many of these can we support? You know, and I feel like we're becoming saturated with these types of developments. And, you know, I'm not 100% confident that this, you know, okay, if you build it, they will come, you know, I mean, I know there's so many other projects that money is being poured into the city. And I just, I'm not convinced that, that this is what is missing. I feel like there's tons of this.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, I want to do a time check. Do we have a closed session item?
We do have a closed session updates, and it's probably about 5, no more than 10 minutes worth of information that we need to share with you.
Okay, so what I want to do, I want to give you guys a last minute, you know, to wrap up. We do have a lot of community members in here right now. We could not take the comments from our community members because we simply just do not have time. Our backs are against the wall, but I really do want to invite all of you here and all of you listening, and tell your friends, like, you know, write to us, tell us what you see, tell us what you think. You know, we're listening, and we want to hear what our community wants to say. And there's a reason why so many folks showed up today. So we really welcome your comments, your point of view, your perspective, your feedback. We would love to hear that. And, you know, this is the beginning, and, you know, we really want you guys to hear where we're coming from, so that if you want to sort of rebuild it with a different, an eye towards other priorities or real, that feel more tangible. But anyways, let me let you guys wrap your comments up, and then we'll move on.
No, great. Thank you very much. We very much appreciate the time and all the commentary. We will certainly take it to heart and, you know, would appreciate the opportunity to revisit with you all with, you know, some of that in consideration. I do just want to emphasize that on a broader level outside of this specific project, if the commercial real estate industry continues to depreciate and something is not done to help to curb that, then all of the constituents will feel it. It will impact affordability in Mecklenburg County. Because in order to maintain those typical tax revenues, it's going to have to go back to the residents. And that's all of us that would be paying that differential. And so I hope that we can all find a way to kind of work on a broader level to ensure that doesn't happen and that we continue to appreciate the value of our commercial real estate, especially the office in Uptown and the vibrancy that it can create for the whole county, to ensure, you know, that we are able to focus on some of these other priorities. But again, thank you very much for the time. We really look forward to revisiting this with, you know, Roger and team, and hopefully we can come up with some better answers to address all your concerns.
Hey, team, real quick. I wanted to follow up on the data request with respect to underserved communities and communities of color where you currently are. The second data request that we need will be your MWBE participation. What were your goals and your actuals on your projects, and disaggregate that by people of color, women, small business.
Great, thank you. We'll follow up.
All right, great. So at this time, we thank you all for being here, every single one of you who came. Thank you for coming and showing an interest. And now we have to ask you guys to give us the space for a closed session.
Thank you, Bobby. Glad you were here. Thanks so much for coming. She's a good one.
Thank you so much. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Oh, I love you all so much. Thank you.
No, you were very, very sweet. It was kind of like
You just saying, we can't live up there. Why are you wanting them to build that? We can't live there. And what's going on in South End? Oh, yeah. We just can't afford to live in South End. So what can we do? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, that's, yeah. How you doing? Thank you so much. Thank you. Hi, dear. All right, how are you? Jewel, good.
Laura Myers. My pleasure. Thank you for being here. Oh, well, I'm a sexy G.
I'm so glad to see you.
Their desks and chairs. Which part? All of it. I think everybody said something really awesome. Yeah. That's.
Yeah, I wanted to
believe it.
I want to see their MWBE participation. I want to see the information.
I mean, is it really gonna happen? It's just a paper.
A bunch of millionaires.
Right? Right? Like, the one guy's a little disrespectful. Like, I'm like, yeah. Yeah, right. Nobody. Yeah, you don't. No, you killed that. It's not good. So they go to these things, so they take it, so they take the garbage.
We gotta do our
All right,
last.
yeah.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry. I gotta get into this.
Okay, man, we'll see you in a few minutes. We got a quick, close.
So we're gonna stay. It's only 5 minutes, I hear.
You want to see what the best thing is? I got this from, LaShonda's jar.
Okay, so I need to entertain a motion to go into closed session, y'all.
Yes. So moved.
Second.
All right, moved and properly seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So, so we are back on. Okay, now we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, moved and properly seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Minutes to run down.